Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar for the Boost Nassau Loan Program, presented by National Development Council. My name is Catherine Fee and I am the Chief Marketing Officer and the Director of Business Development for the Nassau County Industrial Development Agency, the sister organization to the Nassau County Local Economic Assistance Corporation, also known as LEAC. LEAC, in collaboration with Nassau County Executive Laura Kern's Department of Economic Development, the Nassau County Office of Community Development, created the Boost Nassau Small Business Recovery Loan Program as part of the New York Forward Loan Fund announced by Governor Cuomo on May 22, 2020, to offer critical stabilization loans to Nassau's small businesses, MWBEs, and nonprofits hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. Boost Nassau partnered with National Development Council as a loan administrator for this program. NDC has worked for over 50 years, fulfilling its mission to increase the flow of capital for investment, and works very closely with local and state agencies and community-based organizations to help create and implement unique economic and community development strategies. The Boost Nassau Loan Program has lent over $1 million to 21 small businesses thus far, of which 17 were MWBE. And our hope is to increase our impact with the extended guidelines. Today, NDC will present Boost Nassau's new and expanded eligibility criteria and answer questions from potential applicants. The goal of today's webinar is to help small business owners and nonprofits access the help they need. It is my pleasure to now introduce Ann Finnegan of NDC to begin the program.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for that gracious introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your time. And I did want to just echo what Catherine was saying. You know, we thank the county so much for their leadership in this program. The county executive, Laura Curran, and Evelyn Simmis, and Kevin Crean, and Harry Coughlin. Everybody has just been so fantastic in helping us get this program launched and operated these last 4 or 5 months. We are really here today to share with you some big changes in the program. We know that we've had to disappoint a lot of applicants since the governor first announced the New York Forward program because it had some restrictions on who was eligible for this funding. Well, in the last 10 days or so, some of those key restrictions have changed, and we thought it was a great time to circle back and talk with you a little bit about the resource, what it could mean for you, how it could be of some use for you, how to make application for that and apply for funds. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. We have 5 or 6 things, highlights we want to discuss. Who is NDC? We'll give you just a little bit of background so you know who's talking to you. What is the New York Forward Loan Fund? Who's eligible for New York Forward Loan Fund? That's where most of the changes have been. That's where we're going to spend some of our time. How do you actually apply and walk you through that process? And how do we look at these loans? How do we do our reviews? How do we do our approvals? How do we get funding and money into your hands? So that's what we're going to talk through today. Kind of want to jump ahead a couple of slides. So NDC, as Catherine said, you know, we have been, you can go one more. We've been in business more than 50 years, doing economic development, doing small business lending for a great deal of that time. When COVID hit, we modified a lot of our small business lending programs to be very specific in this crisis for small businesses. And we worked with a lot of our community and economic development partners from across the country to develop new programs. New York Forward is one of those new programs. It came into existence as a result of the need, small businesses needing flexible working capital. PPP came out early in the crisis, April and March and April of last year. New York Forward was hot on its heels. PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, everybody knows, and I'm sure Connor is going to mention this later on in the conversation. PPP is very much geared towards protecting the paychecks of employees in businesses around the country. New York Forward is different. Paycheck Protection is a forgivable loan. New York Forward is not a forgivable loan, but Paycheck Protection is geared towards payroll-related expenses, substantially payroll-related expenses. New York Forward is geared to be very, very flexible working capital for small businesses to use as they see best, not only in this moment, January, February of 2021, but going forward. The money can be used in any manner that you see fit for your small business. It can be a cash cushion, it can be a war chest, it can be some of the seed capital for growing your business, maybe modifying your business, maybe moving in a new direction as we emerge from this crisis. But the flexibility of this program is really its hallmark. So let's talk about a few details. Want to just flip forward one slide, Connor? So this is the program itself. The New York Forward program is very standardized. It is money that's designed to be available to small businesses, both for-profit and not-for-profit. It is designed to be a piece of the solution that gets you back on your feet and growing post-COVID. It is meant to be super flexible and easy to access. So with a view to all that, we've tried to keep program-wide the requirements very straightforward, the application process very simple, the documentation very attainable, and move through approvals as quickly as possible. So what is it we're approving? We can provide loans of up to $100,000 for entrepreneurs. One of the big changes is up until about 10 days ago, the requirement was that you had no more than 20 full-time employees. That has changed. You can now have up to 50 full-time employees and still be eligible for this program. The loan rates are low and they're fixed. For nonprofits, they're 2%. For for-profits, they are 3%. And that is fixed for the life of the loan. The repayment period is a total of 5 years. Probably one of, again, the most flexible parts of this program is that as a borrower, you would pay interest only at either the 2 or 3%, depending on what type of applicant you are. You'd pay interest only for 12 months and then pay level principal and interest payments for the next 48 months until the entire loan is paid off. So it gives you real flexibility for the next 12 months when we're all figuring out how COVID ends and the next chapter begins. And then the payments are designed to be affordable and predictable for a 4-year period, and then you're done. Again, the money is to be used as you see fit for working capital, modifications to your business, investing in whatever you need to get invested in to take your next step forward. It's your choice. In turn, for that flexibility, the program does require that we file a UCC filing on, quote, all business assets, but this is not a collateral-driven requirement. Those assets do not have to have any particular value. They do not have to be specified. That is a general lien on the business, which is, of course, removed when the loan is paid off. Every owner of 20% or more needs to provide a personal guarantee for this loan. If you are committed to it as a principal in the company, we are committed to providing these funds to you. That's the simple guarantee, the simple form context of the guarantee. And as I said, you can use it for eligible working capital, and that is a very wide open statement. One thing that's not on this little chart, but we get asked about all the time, there is no application cost, there are no closing costs, there are no fees related to this program. So if you do decide to apply, if you do decide to take the loan, if you want to know that you have this cash reserve or these resources handy, even though you might not need them for a couple weeks or maybe even a couple months, that's fine. If you get all the way to June or July or August or September and you decide you don't need this money at all or you don't need as much of it, you can prepay it without penalty. So this is a very fee-free, very cost-effective resource. Want to jump to the next one, Connor? So working capital, just to go over again, and we've talked about it before, we'll talk about it again. Anything that you see fit for your business is an eligible use of proceeds with this money. Any normal operating expenses, any of the expenses you see itemized on your tax returns, anything you usually see on your income and expense statement would be eligible, including payroll like PPP, but doesn't have to be any percentage of the loan amount, including rent, including debt service payments, including utilities and insurance, anything you've had to do or invest in, additional expenses you've incurred for COVID modifications or operations, starting to buy new inventory or rebuild your inventory. Those are just an example of what is eligible. And jump one ahead with one more, Connor. So when you go on the application website, which Connor's going to talk about in a few minutes, you see the standard requirements of the program and the standard initiatives of the program. I will tell you, which you've seen, I'm sure you know about, in concert with Nassau County, we have really prioritized our lending for minority-owned and women-owned businesses, in businesses that are located in economically distressed neighborhoods and communities and census tracts, and for nonprofits that serve communities of color and low-income persons. So if there was a priority, ours would be a fairly long list, but there you have it. We do request that every owner of 20% or more, in essence, run through a checklist of program requirements and that address our priorities. We ask borrowers if they have had a hardship, a direct hardship as related to COVID-19. For most employers, most applicants we've had, that usually means that their revenues have been affected, perhaps their staff has been affected, perhaps their customer base has been affected, perhaps their location has been affected. The answers we have to that question run the gambit. It's as succinct or as elaborate a statement as an applicant would like to make. You have to have been in business for at least a year. Now this is the key. This red is one of the big changes. So the other documentation you have on this program, get rid of it. The requirement is that you do not have a PPP of more than $500,000 in the aggregate between the first round and the second round of PPP. And you cannot have more than you cannot have taken more than $150,000 in EIDL EIDL loan. You may have an advance of any amount, that's fine. But if you're EIDL loan, if you've accessed EIDL loans, they cannot be in the aggregate more than $150,000. You have to be located in the state of New York. It's a New York program, that's a requirement. Have gross revenues of less than $5 million in 2019. And again, employ 50 people or less. And in this particular program, the New York Forward Loan Program, there are 5 lenders across the state. You can only apply to one of us for funding. If for whatever the reason we are not able to approve you and we think that one of the other lenders could, we will make sure to get your application over to them, but you cannot go ahead and just apply to all 5 of us because we'd eventually find out, and that's no good. So the threshold questions are very basic. It's basically these 7 or 8 questions, and if you can answer each one of those honestly, and you have the time, the inclination, and the need, this might be an excellent resource for you. Connor, want to go one more? So there's a pretty short list of who's not eligible. I'm not so much focused there, but we'll run through them. Corporate-owned franchises. So a big applicant is not what we're looking for. We're looking for small businesses. So individually owned or closely owned franchises. You might have a restaurant that is a franchise, or you might have a gym that is a franchise. That's different. If it's a corporate-owned store, that is not eligible. Social clubs are not eligible. Branch banks, payday loans, pawn shops, astrology, liquor stores, adult bookstores, yellow bookstores, trading, waging facilities, trailer storage yards. I'm not sure why that makes a list every time, but it's not eligible. And marijuana dispensaries. So that is the list of not eligible. The list of eligible businesses is obviously vastly longer, and we encourage you to apply. One more, Connor. We are speaking to you today in Nassau County because Nassau was one of our very original partners in this effort. We would like to be lending 10 times more than we have already in Nassau County with the Boost Nassau and New York Forward loan program. So while we have $1 million to 21 marvelous businesses that have already closed, we would like that, as I said, to be 10 times that. So we definitely encourage you to apply. We have other partners here in Long Island and Suffolk County, Metro New York City, and some upstate communities as well, and Town of Babylon also in Suffolk County. Again, MWEs, that's where our focus is. We are looking to provide access to capital for minority and women-owned businesses and for the nonprofits that serve them. And just the final slides on general program parameters. As I said, you have to be in business for at least a year. And the way we, and Connor's going to talk about this in a minute, but the way we underwrite this is if it were 2019, if your revenues and expenses were the same in the year ahead as they were in 2019, would you have had the ability to repay this debt? So that's where we start. Everyone has had a very uneven, very wobbly, very uncertain 2020. We don't count that for or against you. We really look at 2019. So as you apply, as you go through this information from Connor or with Connor, you're going to realize that the few things that we ask you for as part of the application are what we use to make a decision. So the application itself, Connor's going to talk about that. It's all electronic. It's all on the portal. It takes very few minutes. You need to complete that application. You need to provide 2019 income and expense information. You need to tell us about the impact that COVID has had on your business, and that can be one sentence or a small novel, either one. We need the tax returns, the latest filed federal tax return for every owner of 20% or more. We need a little information about your business, your organizational documents, your corporate documents. And we want you to know that we expect to be able to provide this financing, as we said, up to $100,000, 2 or 3% interest for small businesses, and include the personal guarantee of every owner of 20% or more. And that really is the overview. It's not any more complex than that. There's no real secrets. And Connor is going to walk through with you the actual process where you apply, what you have to upload, how we look at that, and how we move through the review and approval process. So Connor McCarthy, the webinar is yours.
Thanks, Ann. So we'll just advance the slide one more. And you're going to start by applying online for the nyloanfund.com. It's a sorting mechanism, if you will, that will bring you to a platform where you're going to be able to elect to not only apply for the product itself, but also to choose a lender. We're hoping, of course, that you're going to choose NDC as your lender, considering our partnership with the county. You'll see that on the next page here, where you'll be able to connect specifically with that lender. There's participating lenders here, but look for that nice NDC 50 with the blue logo that you can elect to choose us as your lender. Thereafter, we'll get a notification that you're part of our platform again, and one of our lending specialists or one of our loan officers will reach out to you in order to contact you, explain a little bit more about the program, and of course, understand the particulars of your business. I just wanted to outline before we even get into the credit parameters of what it's expected from businesses and what the process looks like, because there's a 7-part process to this entire loan application. Of course, there's the pre-application where you're going to be filling out just kind of the initial details on the platform about your business. Then you're matched with us as a lender. Again, we're hoping that you choose NDC. Then NDC will take that application and will invite you to apply into our portal, which is Spark. It's an online platform we have to make processing of this application as efficient as possible. Then, of course, you'll complete the application, which is really, we're just going to be looking for all those great application materials that Ann was referencing, specific to the 19 returns and some other odds and ends that we need to verify that the business is in need of an NY Forward loan. Thereafter, one of our lenders who will be working with you throughout this process will start to review those materials. They're going to start to calculate cash flow, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means in the slides to come. And they'll just overall verify that all the documentation is complete and correct. If it's not, they're just going to reach out to you in a quick phone call, and they're going to ask for those additional documents. And then after we've gotten comfortable with this deal and we've decided that in turn it can and it actually will cash flow through 2019, what we end up doing is we'll close the loan and we'll send out everything electronically for you to review, sign, to fund. So it's a simple process from start to finish. I know in traditional times, many people are used to a lot of diligence and for a long multiple day process. But the nice thing about this process is from start to finish till initial pre-application all the way to funding, it can be as short as, I would say, 3 to 4 days, and even sometimes in a rush, we're able to do it even faster. Again, we realized that with everything going on in the world, time is of the essence for obvious reasons. The nice thing too is that after we fund it, everything's going to be automatic, and you won't have to worry about any mailed statements or any sort of mailing in of your payment itself. We'll set everything up electronically. Of course, too, the closing itself will be electronic as well too. For obvious reasons, due to COVID, everything is online, everything is electronic and easy to use. Let us know too, you might have seen throughout this process that we have some Spanish-speaking slides. If you need to be matched to a Spanish-speaking loan officer or to a Spanish-speaking processor, we'll be sure to do that. So déjanos saber si necesitas un poco más ayuda, and we'll do that for you. But the core of the application itself gets back to this concept of cash flow, and that's just a fancy banking term that we all use to confuse applicants from time to time. I'm just joking about that. Really, what we're talking about, of course, is that we're going to be looking, as Ann was mentioning, at your 2019 tax return. We're going to be taking that profit after tax that you see on the cover page of your return, and then we're going to be adding back non-cash expenditures such as depreciation and other adjustments that we'll discuss about in the slide to come. Thereafter, we're going to be overlaying with that existing debt, but then of course your NY forward loan. And what we're looking for is really just simple. We're looking for every dollar of cash flow you can cover $1 of debt. So that debt, of course, would include your existing debt, but also your NY forward proposed debt as well too. So it's a simple one-to-one match. We're looking to see that the business has cash flow of $1, and that covering that cash flow will be $1 of debt and no more than $1 of debt. So simple one-to-one. But it's important to note too that we're really trying to kind of make an honest effort here to assist all business owners to get towards a yes. And so we'll get creative in how we put together a business's cash flow. If we need to, what we can do as well is, in addition to ending net profit along with depreciation, we'll add in other non-cash expenditures such as amortization, such as interest expense. And if we can too, we'll get creative in adding back rent, or we'll get creative in adding back officers' compensation if it's in excess of what the officer actually needs in order to cover their personal living expenses. So that's a long way of saying, don't self-underwrite. If you're a little bit concerned about the matching of your debt ratio to the cash flow that you actually have, speak with your lender, and we're going to work through this. This is not designed to be painful. We're really just trying to understand repayment ability and ensure that you actually are taking on debt in a prudent fashion. But again, the program's designed to be easy and simple to use. It should not be causing you any trepidation. So with that, you have a couple contact information for myself, but also for one of the other loan officers that works specifically in the county. His name is Osirami Adekoya, and my name, of course, is Connor McCarthy. You have our contact information up there. We're going to leave it on this slide just because I find that it's easier for folks to see contact information. But with that, we'll open it up for additional questions and for additional comments, and just try to answer some of your questions that you might have specific to this program. Again, if you get into the weeds specific to your business, a professional from our team will reach out and make sure that we answer all those questions for you. But that being said, we wanted to at least answer some of your questions right now on the webinar.
And before we go to questions, I do want to mention that with this change in eligibility requirements, we are reaching out to everyone who has applied since the program began last summer, and just going over these changes with them and verifying if they would like to reconsider New York Forward as a resource. Just let people know that if it is a need, this is an option. So some of the folks on the phone may have been interested in the New York Forward or the Boost Nassau program before. You may be getting a phone call again. If not, both Osirami and Connor are completely available, as am I, if you want to reactivate an application that you had either decided not to move forward with last year, or if now suddenly you are eligible where you weren't before. So we are all available. You can always jump on our website and find any of us. Thank you so much.
Also note too that to build on that obviously there's a lot out there at the federal, state, and now county level as well. You're going to hear a lot about Paycheck Protection. I think that's a wonderful product. With the new program parameters now provided by the state in order to be eligible for NY Forward, definitely behooves you to think about everything as part of a capital continuum. So don't think of one product exclusively. So if you're getting PPP, definitely try to get NY Forward. And the nice thing too, which I believe Ann mentioned, is that there's no prepayment penalty. So if you do get an NY forward loan and you decide, hey, I didn't use as much as I thought I would, you can always repay those funds with no penalty to you at any given moment throughout the term of the loan.
Excellent point. Okay, so I don't know, Allison, I don't know if you are monitoring questions or if you can see those, Connor, but if anybody has any questions, we would be delighted to take them. You can include them in your chat or in the chat on the webinar platform. We'd be happy to take them.
I'm not seeing any questions yet in the chat, but Allison, you might have a better read on that.
Yeah, I do. I can kick some of them off. First, we'll just let everyone know that the recording will be available on the IDA website, as well as an email will be sent out following the session with that recording. The first question is, can it be an average of 2020 review and revenue and expenses?
It can, there's some flexibility in that. If you can provide your 2019 revenues and your monthly 2020 revenues, we can calculate them using every structure we have and try and meet your needs that way. A straight average of 2020 is not currently an option, but there are options where we can pick any 3 contiguous months of your choice in 2019. Or the first 3 months of 2020. So get us your information. We can run through it every way we possibly can, and you can talk with your lender specifically about what the right dollar amount is.
And what can I do as a landlord? Is there any funding available?
There is. As a landlord, they call them small landlords, which is unit or buildings with 50 units or less. There's those pretty big ones in there. But there is an entire CDFI that participates in this program, CPC, who is dedicated completely to small landlord financing. So you go to the same exact portal that was a few slides ago, the NY Loan Fund portal. You put in the information that you are a landlord and where, and you will be matched with CPC. And yes, the program absolutely is available for small landlords.
And this business opened in January of 2020, so they don't have any 2019 tax documents available. I've been in business for 1 year without 2019 records.
I'm not going to say it's an automatic no, but it becomes a heavy lift. Maybe give one of us a call. There have been ways that we've been able to work with that if perhaps you bought a business that was in existence before 2020. Because it is a 1 year, there's a 1 year look back. And that's really because that's how we base our initial assessments of repayment ability is on the year before COVID. So it's not an automatic no, but it's got a little asterisk and we would like to talk to you a little more. We also have, which I'm sure Connor was going to come up later, we're going to address this, but there, as Connor mentioned before, there are a lot of other resources out there, some of which we're directly involved in providing, some of which you just know about. So even if you think you might not be eligible for this, either jump on our website or on the Nassau County website. There are resources listed there that maybe we're not talking about today, but that could be useful for you. So even a younger business, there are some programs out there that you could access if New York Forward doesn't work out to be just the key.
And is there any documentation needed to prove that it's a woman-owned business?
For this particular program, all the diversity of ownership questions are self-certifying. So the question is asked and the applicant answers and certifies that that answer is true and correct to the best of their ability.
Great.
So no, it doesn't have to be a state certified NWBE, just has to be ownership reflecting diversity.
Okay, great. And Connor, of the loans that have been made so far, how many are for WMBEs?
17. So the vast majority of these have been for, or let me rephrase, for MWBs. I actually couldn't have the statistic on WBEs, but MWBEs, which it could be an MBE or it could be a WBE, or it could be both. There's been 17. So the vast majority has gone to folks that we feel pretty passionate about lending to.
I don't have the exact Nassau County numbers at my fingertips, but In general, our New York forward loan lending is right around 50% women. 48, 52, it changes from day to day, but just in that 50% range.
Does prepayment with no penalties expire at any specific date?
It does not. It's one of the best attributes of the program. You know, as Connor was saying, there's a lot of resources out there. There may be more resources out there. This is one of those that's super flexible in the ultimate use of the money or the use at all. You know, we've had a lot of businesses say that they've developed a strategy for how they're going to get from where they are now to where they think they need to last until, you know, everybody's got vaccines and we're back in business 100%. And a lot of them burned through their cash cushion, their emergency money last summer. So for some of them, it is exactly that. It's a cushion, it's a fallback, and if they don't use it by, you know, next winter, their plan right now is to pay it back, which is fine. There's other businesses that are going to use it, you know, begin using it the day they get it. But there's no limit on the prepayment exception. I mean, you can prepay anytime without penalty.
Great. And Connor, could you review the loan terms again?
Yeah, the loan terms are pretty flexible. So there's a 12-month interest-only period. So you'd be shocked at how low that could be if you actually kind of want to do a little bit of underwriting yourself. If you get a loan for $100,000 and then you take the interest rate of 3%, you could do a simple calculation and figure out the average monthly. And I can see Anne already calculating right now, so she'll tell you what it is. But the first couple of months of the loan,
$150. Yeah.
$150 a month on $100,000. So you probably, if you're borrowing $100,000 pursuant to the size of that business, you probably wouldn't notice that too much. And that's the goal of the program, especially initially, because for the first 12 months right now, when we're all in COVID, we all realize that having a full P&I payment is very difficult. And then thereafter, you'll have a regular P&I payment over the remaining, 5 years of the 5-year term. But just keep in mind, sometimes there can be confusion on the lending side about that. If you have a 5-year term, you're gonna have a 4-year amortization because we're giving you an interest-only period to assist with repayment through the first 12 months. Again, I think that's really critical because a lot of folks are gonna need that runway right now, considering everything that's going on in the world. And then thereafter, you have the remainder of the 5-year term to just have full P&I payments. Again, you can pay back as much as you want at any moment, no prepayment penalty. So if you ever wanted to lower that P&I payment, there's a lot of business owners, it's almost like a car payment. They're just like, what's my monthly payment? You could always lower it by just paying down a portion of the principal balance and then having a lower P&I payment. So there's a lot of flexibility with this, and it's up to the business owner, whatever they feel comfortable with.
And is there a personal credit score requirement to be eligible for the program?
Yeah, we pull personal credit, but we're not the type of lender that has a floor necessarily. So if something happened with personal credit and it was, a derogatory comment or a late payment, we're trying to explain a story about your business when we have a loan officer working with you. So just tell your loan officer, here's what happened, here's why it happened, here's why it's not going to happen again. And then we'll put that into our reports. That way we can move this along. We're not the type of folks that are trying to kind of just underwrite these things with an algorithm with a score that we have to go off of.
And is the program available to a sole proprietor?
It is.
Great. And in terms of ownership structure, this particular business has 2 female owners and 1 male owner. Are they still eligible?
They are.
Absolutely.
Do you have a cutoff date for applying for the loan?
I don't think we have one right now. I mean, when we started this program, there was a couple of cutoff dates, but everyone's been extended because of the issues that we're all facing as a result of COVID. So don't worry about a cutoff date. I think right now in the middle of winter with COVID, I think now's obviously the time to apply, but it's not like a glass of milk in the fridge. If you apply next week, you'll be okay.
Great. And let me just see here. This is specific to the business, but this particular small business is home child care, and they want to expand the space to meet COVID guidelines. Is that an eligible use of loan proceeds?
That's an eligible and an excellent use of loan proceeds.
Okay, great. And then for finding all of this information, where should we direct people? A website or contact information?
So the NY Loan Fund, which if Connor, if you want to scroll back, first of all, our website is on here, ndconline.org. The link to the website is also on the Nassau County website. And the New York Loan Fund is where you can go for general information and the application itself, nyloanfund.com. If you're into watching the state's ESD, Empire State Development's website, you can find New York Forward Loan Program on there. So there's a lot of ways in. They will all those links lead you eventually to the portal. If you, as Connor said when he was showing you the little slide earlier, if you are matched with a number of CDFIs, we would certainly hope you pick NDC. We would like very much to be your lender. The one thing I will tell you is that you will get, if you do apply for New York Forward, keep an eye on your email and your filters, because some of our initial responses and invitations to complete your application come from gafinfo@ndconline.org. Sometimes that gets veered off into a spam or a junk folder. So just keep an eye on your email. If you don't hear from us, give us a call or shoot us an email, and we will track down your application on our side.
And you can also look at the boostnassau.net website. The information for the loan program is there as well.
Perfect.
And yeah, I think that's all we have for questions. So Anne, if you want to close the session.
I want to thank you guys again for your time and your attention. We are very enthusiastic about the changes that have been made to this program. We hope that it is of some use to you. Please don't hesitate. If you have any questions between now and when you might want to apply, give us a call. We'll be happy to talk through those questions with you. And as Allison said, this will be recorded. If you, for whatever reason, you want to watch it again for a few minutes, the details will be available on the recorded webinar, and we are always available by phone or email. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day. Catherine, Nassau County, Connor McCarthy, thank you. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye now.